K1 seems like a great deal. So what do we do when such a phone comes out? Compare it with the Redmi Note 6 Pro, of course, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in today's video. Hey guys, Ash here from C4 Retech, and let's get started. If you do end up liking this video, please don't forget to turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Now before we begin, predictions. Who's gonna win this? Now no peeking, do not jump to the end of the video, I see this all the time. Just drop a comment, hashtag okay, it's not Xiaomi anymore, so hashtag Redmi or hashtag OPPO. What are you gonna pick? Leave a comment. And anyway, let's start this comparison off with the build. And we all know what the Redmi Note 6 Pro looks like. Xiaomi hasn't changed their design language in a while, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's nothing new, not in line with the current gradient trend and all, but it's still metal, it still feels nice in hand, it's still efficient. The K1 on the other hand is plastic, but has the eye-catchy gradient design. Now the colors might not be to everyone's liking, but it does blend well with the gold trim around the cameras. Personally, I like this back better. The attention to detail that OPPO's paid here, see how that gradient colors spill onto the sides of the device? In hand, the K1 also feels lighter and slimmer than the Redmi Note 6 Pro cause, well, it is. So personally, I'm gonna go with the K1 here, while beauty does in fact lie in the eye of the beholder. So if you like the efficient build of the Redmi Note 6 Pro, you can choose that. Hey, here's a poll. Let's see what the common consensus is. Turning the phones around, we have a slightly taller 6.4-inch AMOLED panel on the OPPO K1 compared to the 6.26-inch display on the Redmi Note 6 Pro. And while OPPO has chosen to go with a tiny dewdrop notch on the K1, Xiaomi's implementation on the Note 6 Pro is much wider because they had to add a secondary camera there. Now while I understand the reason, I do find it more distracting, especially while watching videos. And then you factor in the fact that the K1 has an AMOLED panel, which means we have more vibrant colors and inky blacks here compared to what we find on the Note 6 Pro's LCD. So all in all, it's a much better and more immersive experience on the OPPO. It's not like the Redmi Note 6 Pro doesn't have any advantages. The IPS panel here manages to get a lot more brighter, 500 nits compared to 430 on the K1. And when it comes to sound through the onboard loudspeaker, the Note 6 Pro gets louder. However, the K1 strikes right back with a higher screen to body ratio. OPPO has managed to do a great job here minimizing the bezels. And while Xiaomi does mention Gorilla Glass protection on the official page for the Note 6 Pro, there is no version number to be found, leading me to believe it's Gorilla Glass 3. OPPO on the other hand says the K1 comes with Gorilla Glass 5 for protection. Overall, both these phones are pretty good media consumption device, but I'm gonna have to give this one to the K1 for that gorgeous AMOLED panel. Moving on to the internals, we have an underclocked Snapdragon 660 on the K1 paired with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of onboard storage. Now if the Note 6 Pro is no pushover, it's got the Snapdragon 636 inside along with 4 or 6GB of RAM and 64GB of onboard storage. Now both these phones do come with a microSD card slot for added expandability, but the K1 has the advantage with a dedicated slot while the Note 6 Pro has to make do with a hybrid slot. And the K1 also pulls ahead when it comes to raw performance numbers. That said, you won't really see a difference in day-to-day usage. Both phones remain quite snappy while opening up apps. Even multitasking was fine across the board. When it comes to intensive gaming sessions though, you can see the Adreno 512 on the K1 keep up better with action on screen. Less drop frames and micro stutters. This becomes even more apparent when you've been playing for a while and both devices have started throttling a bit. Okay, so if it wasn't clear enough already, this is a win for the OPPO K1 with regards to performance. Now when it comes to battery life, the Note 6 Pro kind of flips the tables. It's got a larger 4000 mAh battery compared to 3600 mAh on the K1, and in practice the combined effects of a weaker chip and MIUI 10 optimization means that the Note 6 Pro does about 20% better when it comes to battery life, despite having only a 10% higher capacity battery. Now this doesn't mean the K1 has bad battery life. On an ordinary day, the K1 would last throughout the day with about 30% left in the tank. However, it can't push well into day 2 like the Redmi Note 6 Pro often does. So battery, that's the Redmi Note 6 Pro all the way. Okay, so since I've just mentioned software optimizations, let's dive right in and see how MIUI and ColorOS stack up against each other. We have MIUI 10 on the Redmi Note 6 Pro and ColorOS 5.2 on the OPPO K1. Both running on Android 8.1 Oreo, both packed with plenty of features. And they also happen to be very fast and fluid when it comes to day-to-day usage. So I'm not really going to get into specifics with either of the user interfaces. I think most of you would already be familiar with them, but in case you want to check them out in more detail, here's a card to our dedicated videos. So all things being equal, in the past I would have gone with MIUI because of all the customization options it provides. But given the current ad scenario, suggesting MIUI to someone is growing more and more difficult by the day, especially since ColorOS can match and even sometimes better MIUI feature for feature. Say for example the game mode, and on top of that the whole ad thing with MIUI, I'm gonna have to give this round to the K1. And by the way, I can't wait for the sarcastic WhatsApp messages from the Xiaomi guys now. Well, I refuse to be pressured by a brand to change my point of view. End of the day, I need to be true to you guys, my audience, and not the brand. So, to the people who are going to be messaging me, I say, just bring it. Now, before we jump into cameras, let me wrap up the sundries. The Note 6 Pro has an IR blaster that the K1 lacks, while the K1 sports an under-the-display fingerprint scanner. Yeah, the rear-mounted fingerprint scanner on the Note 6 Pro is pretty fast, but there's just something so cool and futuristic about using an in-display fingerprint scanner. So this round, it depends on what you like more, the IR blaster or the in-display fingerprint scanner. So here's another poll. I'm just gonna call it a tie. Let's finally get to the cameras. We have dual rear cameras on both these phones. The Redmi Note 6 Pro sports a 12 megapixel primary sensor coupled with a 5 megapixel depth sensing unit, and the OPPO K1, it has the same configuration. It has a 16 megapixel primary sensor coupled with a 2 megapixel depth sensor. When it comes to daylight photos, both these phones take some really good looking shots. If you prefer brighter pictures with a tad bit of saturation in them, then you'll love the pictures coming out of the OPPO K1. It also has a dynamic range edge here. Under low light, the Note 6 Pro does pull ahead. The larger pixels make up for the slightly narrower aperture, 1.8 compared to 1.7. The pictures are brighter and have a tad more detail. The Note 6 Pro maintains its lead with portraits. It has more natural colors compared to the K1, which seems to overexpose pictures a little bit. The K1 though hits right back with selfies. Its 25 megapixel selfie shooter retains details better when compared to the 20 megapixel selfie shooter on the 6 Pro. And the 6 Pro does have a secondary depth sensor to the front, but Xiaomi doesn't seem to have leveraged it quite that well, as the edge detection isn't perfect on either of these devices. They're definitely passable, and overall I'd have to say good looking selfies. Now, when we come to video, the OPPO K1 can capture a maximum of 4K 30 FPS footage, while the Note 6 Pro for some weird reason is still restricted to 1080p only. This means the detail levels are better on the K1, but the Note 6 Pro does have more stable footage thanks to electronic image stabilization. So the K1 got good light, selfies and video resolution, while the Note 6 Pro got low light, portraits and video stabilization at 3 apiece. They are pretty well balanced, and I'm surprised. I thought the 6 Pro would blow away the K1 this round. Oppo's hung in well there. Talking about price range, we have the Note 6 Pro that starts from 14,000 rupees for the base model, while the 6GB RAM model comes in at 2,000 rupees more. The K1 though is pricier than both at 16,990. So this is advantage Redmi Note 6 Pro. So what's the better option? If that 660, the gradient design AMOLED panel, in-display fingerprint scanner and relatively ad-free software are important to you, paying that extra cost should be worth it. But if the extra battery life and that IR blaster are what's important to you, then the Note 6 Pro could serve you well. Me personally, I feel the K1 offers better value. So did you get your predictions right? Here's another poll. Be honest, let me know if you got it right at the start. That about ends it for this comparison video, and it is time I bid you adieu. Please share this video with friends and family if you can. Check out our monthly giveaway if you haven't yet. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on what you feel about this video. Also subscribe and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of my daily content. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye bye.